And that's what drilled me. So when I got home, I made a commitment to never let myself lose sight and, chase business, be aggressive in everything we do, because as Christian men, we have an uplink, an incredible power that we can use for business or for adventure. But don't ever lose sight of the fact that your men around you, your friends and your family are what endure. If we lost everything here, if every one of us here was wiped out by a wave in the next 5 minutes, those cars outside wouldn't matter a jot. It would be the guy next to you that you hadn't told what he meant to you that'd matter. And that's really what drilled home to me after Arche.
Okay, we'll just rip up with a few adventures and wrap it up. You got chased by pirates. How fair dinkum was that?
Oh, mate, it was fair dinkum. We had a couple of brushes with pirates. In Papua New Guinea, I got a knock on the hull at about 4:30 in the morning. And there was a guy, what's the guy who was in the whale? Jonah. His name was Jonah. And I always laugh because Jonah saved us. But he knocked on the hull and said, "You need to go now." And this fella risked his life to tell us. He said, "There's 40 men from my village in canoes coming to take everything you have." And I said to him, "Do I have time for a cup of tea?" And he said, "No, you don't have time for a cup of tea. You need to go now. My life is in danger." So he paddled off into the night. By the time we got the boat ready and pulled the anchor, they were swarming out of the river mouth. And they were furious because they obviously knew we'd been warned. And I still wonder what happened to Jonah. Another night, we're off the north of Sumatra, and a high-speed motorboat came out of one of the most renowned areas for pirates in the world, the Malacca Strait. There's a pirate attack every day there. On radar, we could see this boat. There were no lights. They refused radio contact. Definitely pirates. And they sat behind us. Every time we put the spotlight on them, they'd fall back. Anyway, through prayer, the sea state got so savage that there was no way a pirate could board the boat. And it was the sea that saved us that day.
What you've got a new adventure. Firstly, you had a go at the Simpson Desert just recently. Talk about that one.
We did. We've just been beaten. Katali crossed halfway across the Simpson on a little 90cc, and we were trying for another wind-assisted desert crossing. After 12 days, we turned around, having run out of water and time, but we got halfway across the Simpson. So that's my recent one.
What will you do next time to get across? What was the...
Oh, the key on that one was we had a German kite called the Fly Surfer, which is a phenomenal kite. But
how big is it?
It's 21 square metres, so it's probably half the size of that big canvas at the back there. But it's a lot of fabric, and it's made out of an incredibly light NASA-developed nylon, so it'll hold its weight out of the air in about 1.9 knots. Our biggest problem in the Simpson was just lack of wind, and basically I think we just got a very bad weather pattern.
And you have a new adventure. Like, just before we move on, you don't just go out and do this for fun. The first one was to help with the young girls that get taken into prostitution. That was the charity you helped there. You've always got something that you want to purpose to drive this.
There are two reasons for that, Watto. One, that we're only here for a short time, so we're not out there for, playing with seagulls. We're always trying to tag a expedition to a worthwhile charity, and I'm still very passionate about Australian men standing for the girls that no one's standing for up in the Cambodia, Laos, Thailand triangle. So that was the Sahara one. The most recent one was for homeless kids on the coast. This one coming up is another crazy adventure. And
tell the boys about that, because there could be some blokes here that want to sign up with you after.
Yeah, I would love that. And the big thing with these adventures is that we always design them so that they're uncomfortable. You're going to get pushed right to your edge, and it's at your edge where you meet your maker and you really meet yourself. So this one is for a charity called eCare, which is a food bank that we're setting up in Papua New Guinea for distributing clothes and food to the needy around Lae, which is a very, very worthwhile charity. It's called the eCare 1000. It's 1,000 kilometres of travel by bike, kite and hike. So we start in Cooktown, next July, so you've got plenty of time to train for it.
Are you awake, Noel Gallagher? You listening to this? You and I got to train for this. Yeah, we'll be in the buggy, mate.
We'll get you fit enough. We've got 700 kilometre cycle from Cooktown to the tip of Australia.
Just pulled out.
What I was getting sweaty thinking about it. Then it's a 200 kilometre kite across the Torres Strait, island hopping over 3 days to Daru Island in Papua New Guinea.
Hey, don't they have crocodiles on one side and sharks across the middle?
Yeah, it depends. You can pick your flavour. You can have sharks in Australia or crocodiles in PNG.
You wouldn't want that kite to come down, would you?
No, that's the key. We teach you how to keep it in the air so you don't get eaten on the way across. And then we fly you into Kokoda, and then it's a 100 kilometre Kokoda trek home. So 700, 200 and 100, the eCare 1000. We are aiming to take a team of 60 men and women into that hostile environment. All of them made sure that they're trained and fit for it, so it's safe. So see me afterwards, or see Watto if it's something you wake up tonight and go, man, I'm going to do the eCare 1000.
Sounds good. He's got his little flight buggy just outside there, and I'm sure there's blokes here will want to talk to Geoff. And he actually wanted the title of his talk today about pick up your balls. And what did you mean by that?
Mate, I'm glad you closed on that. What pick up your balls refers to those mates that you have, and I know you all know them, where in our late teens and 20s, they were completely bulletproof. And you used to look at them and go, man, this guy's a Teflon man. He breaks out, break an arm, just get it fixed, keep going. Incredible adventurers in whatever they did. Over the next 20 years, we've watched them become urbanised, sanitised, feminised, which is what the outside world is trying to do to the Australian male, so that we don't stand up, so that we don't express our opinions in public, so that we're easy to live with and we're not uncomfortable. My challenge to him was, your wife's bored with you because you've become a man that she didn't marry. You don't do the things that you did in your 20s. You no longer play the sports. You no longer go fishing. You barely spend time with your mates. Pick up your balls and come into the wild places with me, and I'll teach you how to be a man again. And that's what we do out there, because there's no way you can hide your manhood in the wild places. We don't have the wars coming through. Times past, wars are when people found themselves and men became men. Thankfully, we don't have that, but we can get into the wild places and harden up.
And finally, you and God?
Mate, I'm very fortunate in that I have periods of my life where I know for a fact I wouldn't be here if I hadn't called on the name of God. And I'm going to end with one story that happened before I became a Christian. And that call is not just a privilege of the Christian. It's a call that you can make at any stage of your life. And those times are like a memory bank for me. So whenever I feel like straying or not believing, I can go back to those times and go, no, I know that God is real in this situation. When I was Skatali's age, we very stupidly ran away from a camp that my mum and dad were setting in a game park in Kenya, and thought we would follow these tracks through to a fallen tree. Now I would know that those tracks were made by elephant pushing through the reeds. If we met an elephant in there was no way past the elephant. It was just you and the elephant. While we were playing around this tree, a big bull elephant came in to the enclosure, and he was pissed. He was screaming, and his trunk was up, and he meant to kill. We were literally 30 metres the other side of this tree from him, both cowering. I think we might have soiled our undies each. And it was my first prayer. And I prayed to God that he would control this elephant and make him go away. It didn't happen initially. God gave me a bit of a scare first. And the elephant started to come around the tree. And as he came around, we tried to stay opposite him. Eventually, the track that we came in came up, and we ran like hell. And the elephant could easily have come around and followed us and run us down. But it was the first example of many where I know that without an uplink, I wouldn't be here. So no, my relationship with God and with Christ is continually strong because of those moments.
Thank you, champion.
Thank you, Watto.
Katali. Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Smoko is roll on. We're going to keep on time. Geoff's got his machine outside there, and at the end of the day, we're